Good evening. It is Wednesday, middle of the week, almost end of June. So I wanted to get on here and give a quick update about where things are at with the HK Ventures LLC and the Bunker Project 501c3. So I'll start with the Bunker Project since that was the whole point of HKV existing in the first place. Talk about where we're at currently. So the nonprofit is basically shut down essentially, all except for maintaining our 501c3 status through the IRS. But besides that, the website, if you try to look it up, it's just a blank white page. The house is being sold. Everyone is moving out as of tomorrow. And then I've been trying to stay as in good contact with them throughout this process as possible to make sure that they are set on their next places. So that's basically what I was getting on here for, was to give an update of what's going on with the veterans in the current Bunker Project house and what's happening to them as this house gets sold. And the reason I'm selling again is because frankly I am just tapped out. I'm gone as far as I can to support this thing at a loss, at many losses. The fourplex that I bought to support the nonprofit also lost a lot of money due to the moratorium and COVID and all that kind of stuff. So I'm selling that fourplex as well, just sort of recover some losses, get back to a breaking point, and start again. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, the 4 veterans in the house. So one of them, there was 5 veterans, by the way. So it was a 5-bedroom house. But a few months ago, I went to them just before we were coming up into the summer. So during the summer is when I don't charge them rent for 3 months. And this was part of their lease. They didn't have to pay rent for 3 months. So a couple months ago, maybe 3 months ago, as we're coming up to summer, we're with them for a house meeting and explained that we're having some trouble bringing in funds. We haven't attracted the donors in the amount that we need. We haven't been able to get any grants or get anyone to write grants for us. That's just not something I have time for, since my way of doing this was to start a business instead and use my own business to support the nonprofit. One of the issues is that the nonprofit that I set up is much different than how grants are written. The grants are mostly written as a reactionary model. So they usually require, almost all the grants out there require that the person have been homeless for a certain amount of time, and they have ways of verifying that homelessness. And it's quite specific. So it's like you really got to get very far down into a pretty dark place before most organizations or most of these grants are there to actually do anything for you. They want to kind of make you stand on your own 2 feet, that kind of thing. Don't want to coddle you. That was the feedback I got back about the nonprofit from one potential donor that just frankly said, we don't like what you're doing because we feel like you're coddling these veterans, that they're not in that kind of place, they're not homeless, they're just coming from active duty or whatever into this house while they go to school, and then going from the house to buying their own house with their VA loan once they've completed their degree and they're starting their career, starting their family around the same time, that kind of stuff. That was the whole idea of the house. So but that's kind of a threat to our competitors, the other nonprofits that are out there that are focused on this reactionary model. If we're focused on a preventionary model of trying to keep people from ending up needing their nonprofit's services in the first place. So I think that's kind of what has played into not getting the donations that we need, but it is what it is. So that's why I didn't go after the grants. That's why I didn't really pursue the private donors or grants, grants again, just because I knew based off of the research and based off of experience that our model is different and our model is a challenge to other nonprofits, and it's going to cause us problems if we go out there and try to raise donations for it. So it'd be much easier for me to start my own business, get it profitable, and get that to support the nonprofit, which I kind of arrogantly, I guess, a little bit thought that I could do within 1 year's time frame. I thought I could get a business, started from scratch, and within 1 year have it profitable enough to keep this nonprofit going. And we are going to produce some profit by selling these houses, selling the properties in Vegas. So the fourplex that I had purchased to, create cash flow that would support the nonprofit, and then the nonprofit house itself, those are both being sold right now. So that will create, a decent amount of equity that we can then take and reinvest into the business, get the business to where it is profitably cash flowing enough to both support me and my family, and then be able to donate extra or whatever to the nonprofit. That's the idea. So I got to put on my own oxygen mask, so that way I can go around and start putting oxygen masks on other people. Because in order to keep this nonprofit going, so the last 2 months, I've received no rent, but I've still got all the bills. And then as inflation has started kicking people's butts, the fourplex, 2 of the tenants have also stopped paying rent. So that's an additional challenge. And then of course that fourplex has just been a constant maintenance problem since I bought it. And the property management company has had issues with staffing, trying to get employees to stick around long enough. More than a week or 2 has been a big challenge. So just one kind of thing stacked on top of each of another has made it so that the only profit that we've been able to generate is through the equity and not through the cash, the monthly rents, the cash on cash, or our return on investment, ROI, or all these different real estate terms. But whatever you want to call it, we haven't been able to bring in enough in rent from the fourplex to create enough cash flow to fund the nonprofit. But on the other side, housing prices have skyrocketed. And so one way we can recover from this is by selling the 2 properties, taking that equity and reinvesting it into both the nonprofit and the for-profit, and then being able to hire actual employee, hire an actual president who can focus on this full time. That's their career. They have their means of living are met, and that will give us the ability to actually run this nonprofit much better and grow nationally the way I intend to do. So that is that with the nonprofit. So anyway, the downside of all of this is that there were 5 veterans who were using the nonprofit, who were depending on that to get through college. And unfortunately, I just can't keep it going. So this month, what am I saying? So this month, for example, I am down to my last few pennies in the bank, really. So I haven't paid my truck payment. I haven't paid my child support, and haven't paid my own rent in order to make the bills on that house, since I've had all of the mortgage payment, the gas, electric, sewer, water, all that stuff for the last 2 months, but without any income whatsoever from that property. So that's 100% loss of income on that property for 2 months. And I set it up that way intentionally with the idea that either donations or something in business would produce enough profit to make up for that, but it just never did. So the fourplex lost money this month as well, like I said. So I had to come out of pocket for both the fourplex and the house, and and so that's why I haven't been able to keep up on my own bills. Last year I sold my first house that I bought in Oregon, and I used that money to set up the LLC to buy the fourplex, and then with what's left have dwindled that down to get to the point where we are now, where now I'm not making my own bills just to keep the nonprofit afloat. So that's why the whole thing's got to shut down. That's why I can't continue this as it is. I've considered selling some stuff off. I've shut down our payroll department. I had Paychecks payroll, so I've shut that down. I've shut down our legal services through LegalZoom and Rocket Law, these lawyer services. I asked for my retainer to be returned from our attorneys to try to get through this next month because the house still hasn't sold. It's had a lot of showings, but still hasn't sold. The fourplex is under contract to sell as of August 4th, but trying to get to that point just means I've got to go another month of paying about $2,800 in bills on that fourplex with only 2 units paying rent, or maybe they'll pay rent, who knows. Hopefully they do, but either way, hopefully that will be sold as of August 4th. So that's that. As far as the 5 veterans go in the house, so where they're at, our house manager has found a place. So he's moving into a 1-bedroom apartment. He has done stellar. He used the house exactly as I intended the house to be used. Unfortunately, he has dropped out of college and is just working full-time, about 70 hours a week, delivering, a beverage delivery jobs, kind of a low-end job, which is unfortunate because if he'd continued, if he'd been able to stay in college, get his degree, he would have been, set up that much better to get, so he wouldn't have to be working 70 hours a week just to make bills, could have a much higher paying, better job with his college degree. So that's the thing I was trying to avoid with the bunker project, and that's the thing that was helping him while the house was stable. But now that I'm having to sell, he's had to drop out, and there's that. So one of our other veterans is moving into a temporary place where he's got 60 days to stay there, and then he'll have to figure out his next kind of situation. Then veteran number 3, UNLV student, I believe he's moving into the dorms, moving into with a friend. I'm not too sure on that one, but I know when I've asked him if he's secure, he said, yeah, I'm solid. And then we've got another veteran who has a place set up as of August, I think 18th or 12th or something like that. I don't know, mid-August is when he's got his next place set up. So he says he will be couch surfing, which is essentially homeless, classifies as homelessness, until that time. So again, that's another unfortunate one. But I am going to give them a portion of the sale proceeds to help them, make sure they at least got a roof over their head, make sure they at least have a place to go, at least a place to stay, and get stable, to their next situation. Because the reality for most student veterans is that it's a struggle because you're trying to make a year's worth of bills on only about 8 months of income. And that's not really explained in the fine print that it's a day-for-day payment. So most of them don't realize that they're going to be short for their bills during the breaks until the breaks actually come, and that's where their credit gets screwed up, and evictions happen, and and then from that, coping with negative things like alcohol and drugs, and if they've got any issues that they brought out with the military, or issues from childhood, since a lot of people who join the military tend to come from poverty, and people in poverty tend to have higher levels of mental health and all that kind of stuff. So you see how these things can compound in the veteran population, and it all starts just with not being supported well during your school, during your transition out from the military. So that's what I was hoping to make a difference in, and that's what I still hope to make a difference in the future. So we shall see. I'll continue doing the investing and growing and get to that point. So who else do we got? I think that's all the veterans in the house. Oh, and then the 5th guy we had, he had moved out when I gave him that first notice, telling him that, hey, we're not going to make the bills to get through the summer. We haven't brought in donations, etc. So he bailed right then, moved in with his girlfriend. So that's great. I'm glad he did that. So he's solid. So so all of our 5 veterans at least have a place to go where they'll have a roof over their head. They'll be mostly stable. I'm gonna give them some cash. I've offered them to take furniture or whatever they need, that kind of stuff. And then the most promising potential buyer we have for the house is actually a nonprofit themselves, so which is great. So I'm gonna try to work with them, give them the lowest price we can get them, try to get them the furniture, just donate them all the furniture. I'm not too sure what kind of nonprofit they are, whether they're a sober living house or a veteran housing project or something like that. But either way, it's cool that another nonprofit is going to continue using the house to help people in the community. So that's awesome. Hopefully they can move forward on the deal. So we shall see with that one. And then with HK Ventures, man, it's getting long. So with HK Ventures LLC, got kind of a few different things in the pipeline. So we got those 2 houses that we're selling, the 4-plex in the house, and off of those 2, expect to make anywhere between $300,000 and $350,000 in profit. But a lot of that is going to go, to just repaying a lot of the debt and loans and stuff that I took out to get to this point. So it's not really. I wouldn't really call that profit. You're just kind of getting caught back up. But this money will give us the ability to reinvest into a new development project. So the project I'm working on most closely right now is an office building in Peoria, Arizona. So what we're looking to do is tear down an existing, I think it's a two-story, like an old restaurant. So we're gonna tear down this restaurant, we're gonna build a 6-story office building in its place. And I'm gonna use the fourplex funds toward that goal. That's one option if that underwrites and if that goes through and our RFP, request for proposals from the city, gets approved and that kind of stuff. So, but we've been in conversations so far, and it's all sounding like it's good to go. So, so we shall see. So, and the way I'm able to do that, like how the heck am I going from a fourplex all the way to a 6-story, about a $20 million or so, $15 to $20 million office building, and the way to do that is with the team. Is to do that with a team, syndication team, development team. Partners as joint venture or whatever. So we'll most likely go in as a joint venture, just a few of us putting in, I'll put up the riskiest money since I have one of the smaller amount in the real estate space. $200,000 is actually a fairly low amount of money, especially in the commercial real estate space. That's barely enough to, secure a plot of land and maybe do some of the planning and zoning and stuff with the city. So it's not for the faint of heart going into development. It's quite expensive, but if you have the team behind you, if you've got the capital behind you, then it's worth it. So and that's what all this last year has been about. It's been about networking, getting to know the people in the industry, who's influential, who's wanting to invest in this space, all that kind of stuff. So we got that project. Then another project, 4.7 acres down in Yuma, Arizona, I'm looking at to build a multifamily project down there. So that one is zoned for multifamily to be at least 90 units or more. So you'd be looking to build that out. That's one project, one possibility. Then we've got another one in Mesa. So this is one that has kind of started, and then now they're selling it after they've already got the initial part going. So this is one of the issues with development, is that you can run out of money. And what happens when you run out of money? You got to sell wherever you're at, and that's kind of a bummer. So trying to learn this industry well enough so that never happens to me, but we'll see. So the project in Mesa is a $131 million project. So that one is a little bit more of a challenge to find someone who can actually sponsor at that level. But I do have a few people who are interested, so we're going to look into the numbers and then see if that one will work out. $131 million project, not bad, pretty cool. What else? Got a 10-acre mobile home park I'm looking at down in Casa Grande, Arizona. So that one would be for, I think, like 36 or so, 34 mobile home park pads or RV pads, either one. So however we set it up. So that's one option, and the appeal to that one is that it's right next to, about a quarter mile from the new Lucid Motors plant that will house about, I think they're buying 1,500 acres or so, or leasing 1,500 acres or so down there for that plant, and so we'll be right next to that. So this would create some excellent workforce housing for that project, and then maybe we can get that land rezoned and build a nice multifamily project on that 10 acres. That'd probably be good size for anywhere from, I don't know, 160 to 200 units, depending on how you do them. So that's another option. And then what else? I think that's it. So those are the projects. I have a couple others that are the traditional value add multifamily. So we've got one in San Antonio, Texas, that I am currently trying to help out on, is the asset management team, investor relations team. So if you're interested in that one, just send me a message, and I'll get you the offering memorandum and underwriting, and let you see how that one is. So that one plans to be some pretty great returns, all that kind of stuff, projections. But I'm not a capital raiser. Capital raising isn't my thing. So it's just a deal that I happen to be working on. So there's that one. What else? So I think that's it. This is getting long. 20 minutes is plenty long enough. I would like to make these about 5 minutes, but I just don't seem to get on here often enough. Just don't seem to be enough time in the day to actually go out and do all this work in real estate, and then go back and do the marketing and, you know, tell you the story about it at the same time. So a little bit of a challenge, but it's fun. And then back here, so I don't know if you probably can't see it, but it says it's a Verizon Small Business Digital Ready grant. So it's a $10,000 grant for small businesses, pretty easy to get. They're offering it to about, I think, 100,000 small business owners, and it's a $10,000 grant again. And basically you just kind of watch a couple videos, do a little bit of training, online training, and fill out the paperwork, and there you go, 10,000 bucks. So I'm gonna be working on that tonight. The due date is tomorrow. So again, that is called the Verizon Small Business Digital Ready Grant, $10,000 grant. So just wanted to put that out there in case anybody needs some money right now. That is through Verizon. So that's all I got. Have a good evening.